Lila had never paid much attention to her hands. They were small, a little calloused from years of working at her pottery wheel, always dusted with a fine trace of clay. But one quiet evening in October, as the sunlight faded across her studio, she noticed something she'd never seen before. A small, pale crescent shape forming near the base of her right palm, just below the thumb. It looked like a half moon, faint but distinct. She rubbed it with her thumb, thinking it might be residue from clay or glaze. But it didn't wash away. The mark seemed to shimmer softly under the light, like it was part of her skin. That night, unable to sleep, she searched online. Half moon mark on palm meaning. Thousands of results popped up, some spiritual, some scientific. One line caught her eye. The half moon, or lunula, symbolizes hidden energy, intuition, and awakening of destiny. She chuckled. Destiny. She didn't believe in that sort of thing. Her life was practical. Rent, bills, work, sleep. There was no room for mystery. Still, as she turned off her phone, the words hidden energy stayed in her mind like an echo. The next morning, strange things began to happen. Her first customer that day was a man she'd never seen before. Tall, gray-haired, wearing a long coat despite the warmth. He studied her shelves of handmade cups and bowls, then picked up a simple white mug. "This one," he said softly. "It feels alive." Lila laughed. "That's just my hands work. Maybe I put too much coffee energy into it." He turned the mug in his hands, then glanced at her palm. "You have the moon mark," he said suddenly. Her smile faltered. "You mean this?" She lifted her right hand, the faint half moon visible beneath the light. He nodded. "It's a rare sign. It means your energy is shifting. You're beginning to shape the world around you without realizing it." Lila stared at him, unsure whether to feel amused or uneasy. "That's poetic," she said, "but I just make pottery, not worlds." He smiled, paid for the mug, and left without another word. That night, Lila couldn't shake the encounter. She sat at her workbench long after dark, shaping wet clay into the curve of a vase. As she spun the wheel, she felt something odd. Her fingers seemed to move on their own, precise and sure. The clay obeyed her as if it already knew what it wanted to become. When she stopped, the vase stood tall and flawless. She had never made something so perfect, so balanced. She stepped back, heart beating fast. Her half-moon mark seemed brighter now, glowing faintly beneath the lamplight. The next few days blurred into something dreamlike. Her creations began selling faster than ever. Customers said her work made them feel calm, connected, whole. A woman even claimed her migraines stopped after drinking tea from one of Lila's cups. Word spread. Within a week, Lila's small studio was packed with orders. She felt exhilarated, but also uneasy. Every time she worked with clay, her palm tingled, as if something deep within her was waking up. One evening, as she closed the shop, she found a folded piece of paper slipped under her door. There was no name, just a short message written in elegant handwriting. Open quote, "The half moon chooses only those who can create balance. But creation and destruction share the same source. Be careful which side you feed." Close quote. Her hands trembled. She looked again at her palm. The mark was now sharp and luminous, a perfect crescent of light. That night, she dreamed of a vast field under a half-moon sky. Her hands were glowing, molding the earth itself into mountains, rivers, and cities. Then the vision turned dark, the same hands crushing what they had made, breaking it into dust. She woke gasping, her heart pounding. The next morning, she walked into her studio and stared at her shelves of pottery. Something inside her whispered that the mark wasn't a blessing. It was a test. Power always was. Taking a deep breath, she placed her hand on the spinning wheel and whispered, "Let's make something good." She worked slowly, shaping not just clay but intention. Instead of chasing perfection, she poured gratitude into every curve and edge, thinking of her late mother, her friends, and all the people who'd found comfort in her work. When she finished, the piece in front of her wasn't flawless, but it felt alive, gentle, real. The half-moon mark on her palm pulsed once, softly, like a heartbeat, and then faded back to its faint, ordinary color. Weeks later, the mysterious man returned. He looked at her newest pieces, then smiled. "You learned," he said quietly. "The mark stays only as long as it needs to." Lila smiled back. "It wasn't about power, was it?" He shook his head. "It never is. The moon only reveals what was already in your hands." When he left, she looked down at her palm. The mark was nearly invisible now, but every time she touched the clay, she could still feel its warmth, and somehow that was enough.